Okay, so I was driving home and I had an idea. Why doesn't some group of feminists not go start a female only nation? There should just be a female only nation. We have the technology now with in vitro fertilization. You can theoretically have a nation of human beings that only has female children. The technology exists. That technology will only become more accessible over time. So this population of people could exist. And I'm sure there would be some women who would be down to do it. You couldn't do this with men, because men can't give birth, so your nation would have to be always accepting immigrants at least. But if you had a nation of women, you could reproduce. You'd have to get sperm from somewhere, but that can be imported. So, or in the future, using some sort of science fiction level technology, why not just... There's a way to fertilize an egg without a sperm, possibly, or maybe start a human just from an egg. I don't know. But why not just do an all-female nation, just to answer all the questions? It'd be an interesting experiment, at the very least. At the very least. Would it perform better or worse than other nations economically? Or on other metrics? Do you think an all-female nation would run better than the co-ed nations we currently have that feminists claim are dominated by the patriarchy, right? If the feminists are right, then an all-female nation should perform at least as well as current nations. At least. And you would think there might even be some reasons why it would perform better for some reasons. Maybe a greater level of empathy and compassion at a population level would result in a more fair and happier society. Or maybe it would collapse. Maybe it would be a terrible place to live. And I think there's only one way to find out. So I support the all-female nation. I think we need an all-female state or nation or population somewhere. I would throw in $10 to see it happen. That's it. That's why I wanted to make this video. Just to talk about that. It was just an idea that popped in my head as I was driving home. This is something I've been wrestling with for a while. If you look at all my videos, I've been thinking about feminism and, men and women, the differences. I've been thinking about society and all this stuff. And it occurred to me that out of the two sexes, only one of them can actually exist by themselves. Males cannot exist for more than one generation without females. Females could theoretically exist forever without males, given either sperm donors from some part of the planet. Like, males would have to exist somewhere. But, I mean, with technology the way that it is, you'd think that we're pretty soon going to not even need males whatsoever. So it just seems like it's probably something that would happen anyway in some sort of sci-fi world. Like the mythical, there's a planet in Futurama that's all female. It's like the Amazon planet. That's probably possible. But you couldn't do it with men. There could never be an all-male planet. It's kind of funny. Unless you had really good levels of technology that could simulate an entire 9-month birthing process or whatever. Gestation tubes or something. That's like super sci-fi. Imagine it though, think about it. If the feminists are right, do you think, women out there who listen to this channel, do you think that an all-woman nation, an all-female nation would be run better? Would it have every senator, every congressperson, all the presidents, all the business leaders, all the entrepreneurs, all of the engineers, all of the nurses, all the teachers, all of everybody, all women, all of them? There'd be zero patriarchy, right? Patriarchy could not possibly exist in this realm. So it's feminists would have nothing to complain about. There would be no such thing as feminism in an all-female nation. So they'd just be complaining about other nations that are that have men in them, so I guess the problem wouldn't go away entirely, but it's an interesting thing to think about, at the very least, I think. What would an all-female nation look like? Why not try it? I wonder if there would even be motivation for that type of thing. I wonder if you could get enough women together to make that happen. What's the desire? Would anybody even want that? I mean, there'd still be heterosexual women, right? They'd have to find men to be in relationships with, so I guess they wouldn't join. Maybe it'd end up being a nation of lesbians. In which case, why not try it? Why not make a nation, an entire population of only lesbians, only biological women who are attracted to women? Form your own nation. You should be able to outcompete the rest of us, right? With your lack of patriarchy holding you back. You know what I mean? How can you not succeed in a world like that? This is why I think feminism is kind of dumb sometimes, you know? It's like, what exactly, like, it turns out if feminism was, I mean, how can you say feminism's right or wrong? The definition of feminism is so loose that you can't say feminism is right, feminism is wrong, feminism is smart, feminism is dumb. You can't say any of those things because feminism represents a collection of ideas, so you have to address each idea individually. But you would think that feminists would at least be interested in thinking about the concept of a society that is only women, only female. You'd think that would at least be something worth thinking about. It hasn't been possible till now, really. I think that there's some kind of I mean, I'd bet money that within our lifetimes it'll be possible for a female to reproduce without a male whatsoever. So the technology will be available soon enough. And then the all-female society wouldn't even need to import any sperm. It could just exist on its own. And if that type of society isn't interesting to you, then that means that you would, if you're a female feminist and the idea of an all-female nation is not interesting to you because either you're heterosexual or you just realize that men might actually provide good things and not just bad things, right? That the patriarchy is a good and bad thing, right? But then in that case, if you're admitting that patriarchy can produce good things, or if you're just saying that men does not equal patriarchy, that you can have a male society that doesn't have a patriarchy, which doesn't make any sense to me because, well, then we have to get back to this definition of patriarchy again, and then here we go. Around in circles we swirl. And this is the same exact place that you end up if you follow systemic racism all the way down. Systemic racism and patriarchy end up being equivalent conceptually at a certain point in an argument with somebody who believes in one of these things. They're exactly the same thing at the base level. And it's funny because the female-only nation would be the same thing as a nation that was only black or only white or something like that, right? Like, how can racism possibly exist if there's only one race or like no race, right? It's the same thing with sexism and patriarchy. Patriarchy cannot exist if there's no males, right? If you have a population of only females, it's the same thing as a population of only one race, right? And so is systemic racism over at that point? Based on my understanding of systemic racism, you could exterminate all the white people on the planet, and it would still continue to exist because of, well, historical patterns that would repeat themselves forward. So, anyway, that was a bit of a rabbit hole there. I've been going back and forth on whether to continue doing this YouTube channel. I took a 10-day break, an 11-day break, actually, and it was mostly because I didn't have anything to say. I've just been thinking about other things that I haven't felt like talking about, but now I feel like I'm back. You know, this will be my third one today. Sunday, February 6th, 2022. Joe Rogan got in trouble recently. He apologized. I just watched his apology video for saying the N-word, which is another thing I need to start talking about. I have to talk about this N-word issue now, because this is something that, well, I'm not going to say it in this video, but I imagine I will say it at some point. And I think I have to say it just to say it, because Rogan mentioned something that I actually find, I don't really like what he said when he said that there's a word that is not ours, right? He said it's not our word to use, and he's kind of referring to white people. Like, the N-word is not white people's word, right? But what does it mean to own a word? That's kind of isn't that kind of ridiculous? Isn't that kind of strange? How can you own a word? And, you know, with this whole N-word thing, isn't it? Wouldn't the word being, like, if the word stopped meaning anything, right? If I were to just wave a wand, snap my fingers, and kind of take away the memory of it from everybody's brain, isn't that the world we want? Don't we want to not be offended by a word? Or not that nobody would have memory, but if you can imagine a society where that word was not offensive at all, wouldn't that be the world we would all want to live in? Right? So, kind of putting borders up on it and saying, no, you can say it, you can't. That kind of retains, that basically preserves the meaning of it, right? So, and doesn't that keep it alive? You know, doesn't that make it, like, at what point does it go away? Do you set a time limit on it? Like 7,000 years from now, is that still going to be a rule? You know, so probably not. So at what point in the meantime does it, like, when does it not become offensive? And wouldn't you think that people saying it freely would make it less offensive? That's what I think. This is one that really bothers me because, well, I'll come back to this issue again for sure. I need to end this video before I say something. Well, I just have to end this one. All right, I'm done. Happy Sunday. Bye.